Good afternoon. How are you all doing? I'd like to welcome you to the July meeting of the Pitt County DSS Board. We'd like to take a minute of silent meditation or prayer. Okay. Okay. As we have done in the past, I'd like to open this time for public comments. And at this time, there does not appear to be any public comments. And again, this is an opportunity that we would like the citizens of Pitt County to take advantage of to come and talk directly to us, and you can go to our website and see how that is carried out. Now, let's see, we're going to move on next to adopt or revise today's agenda. We're going to make one change that would go to matters which require board action, which is the swearing in of Mary Perkins, and also the selection of board chairman and vice chairman. That will be moved up to Roman number 7. I'd like to have a motion.
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Now we'd like to move on to the minutes of the previous meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes as mailed.
And I second it.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, next. Next, we're moving on to status of agency personnel, and that'll be by George Perry, the director.
Since we met the last time, we have filled 3 positions, 632329, 632314, 632365. Those positions have been filled. One person will start on July the 29th, Kendra Pridgeon. Kamisha Harris will start on July the 22nd, and Tammy Strongberry will start on July the 29th. And we have 2 people that were transferred, Timothy Grigg to position 632339, and Margaret Anderson to office assistant 3 positions. So at the present time, we have filled 3 off this list. We have 9 positions that are currently frozen, and we have 2 positions that we have advertised for and they closed out. 632347 closed out yesterday. So we'll be getting our applications from Human Resources.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask some questions? All right, I see on the paper that I have here, there are 14 total
Yes.
veterans and all. All right, you know, of course, I represent the county commissioners, and we want to make sure that we are up. I believe we have a deadline the last of July, and we don't want personnel to interfere with that. Are you getting people from Raleigh now to come in and assist you
We
and make
have.
sure that we are up?
We have 4 people working from Raleigh helping us. We have 4 that's still here with us from Raleigh that helping us with the transition and food and nutritional service. The 9 positions that we have frozen, we cannot do anything with those positions until the county managers release those positions for us to advertise. And if he sticks to the 30-day vacancy, and then if they have personal leave transferring out, then if that's added on to it, then there will be a while before we are able to get those positions unfrozen.
Well, I'm not so concerned about the frozen position. What I'm concerned is that we meet the requirements that been sent to us from Raleigh, pertaining to, of course, food stamps, Medicaid. are we going to, I think you told us before at our last meeting that we would.
Well, I told you, and I sent an email that we did not meet that date, June 30th.
And since we're on personnel, that's what this is where I'm going to, I guess. You have here in March that we were up to date. In April, we fell behind, and then May, we fell behind. But June is the one that I really got excited about. It was that 928. I don't know, maybe we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
We have actually, since then, we have 810. The other one, May, we have 160. And for April, we have 31. So
Well, that's why in June did we fall so far behind? I mean, that's where I kind of got really excited when I saw that we fell so far behind. What went
I would
wrong?
not say we fell that far behind. If you look at the previous month, we had more up there for May. What happened in June, we processed 1,920 research. So we did more research in the month of June than we did the previous month. But a lot of those research were from past due months. So we did 1,119 current for June, which shows us right now 810 behind. Tomorrow morning, I have a meeting with food and nutrition service staff and the supervisors that we are going to discuss how we can become current, looking at the past due work, the current work, and what do we need to get all the cases processed. So I have a meeting at 8:30 tomorrow morning with food and nutrition staff to get their input on what can we do, what is the problem, and how do we go about solving this.
Well, go ahead, Mayor. I'm sorry.
I had a question, and I realize, and I believe way back when some staff predicted for us, some of their predictions where we'd be around 1,000 or so as it went along. Question was, and I guess I was looking at total recertifications completed.
Yeah.
And this was after you had in that month, it dropped from, they were about 2,000 each month before that to 1,100. You had indicated that this was an all-force effort and that you had rescinded vacations and
No,
everything. You did to us.
I don't think I said,
I think you did
Yes,
say that there would be, that vacations, I think, had been
That
canceled.
you were rescinding, make sure nobody would go on vacation. This was back in the end of May that we would be in June. So my question is, did you have a lot of people out on vacation?
I don't know, but I do not recall saying that I would rescind vacation. I'll have to check on the minutes on that. But I did not rescind vacation in June.
I think that's obvious by the numbers.
Well,
I thought there was something about that,
Yeah.
that
Wasn't
had,
Because
Oh,
I
maybe.
brought it
That's
up about that I was hearing
you were hearing, but I
Some
said
bus.
in that meeting that I have not
you,
rescinded vacation. I think when we were downstairs in the A-Way
that other
conference.
one.
Yeah.
And I said at that point in time that I had not rescinded vacation.
So my question then would be, of this, in this being a critical number, how many people were gone? How many days of service were there not done? And I mean, that could account for the number going to about half
That
during
could,
the month of June.
I do not have those figures. I have those for next month.
Wouldn't that be figures worth giving the
Yeah, that would
board?
be worth giving, but I don't have those.
Brian have 'em?
He wouldn't have them today because of 20-some staff. He wouldn't know how
Yeah.
many.
I want to, I'm telling you what my concern is with this. How many people who don't have their food stamps on the cards? Because this is what,
We have 900. Actually, I got updated figures from Ms. Lanier this morning.
because you know, if the food stamp money is not on the card, you know, the little babies won't get food.
Well, if it's 900 recipients registered in families, it might be safe to assume that there are a few more people affected than just that 900 number.
A whole lot of more.
I guess the people register for their family.
And so what happens when they don't get their food stamp on their cards in time? Do they go back and do backlog
When
awards?
when their case is certified, they get the previous month as well as the ongoing month.
How far
So
back do you go?
back to when their research would due. So if your research would due in April and it was not completed till May or June, then you would get those months.
So that's how you get the large amounts. That's, because I was talking about
Right.
hearing large amounts. You remember when I talking about the large amounts put on cards, and they said it didn't happen. So this is how it would
Right.
happen.
Maybe I went to sleep and was dreaming, but while we were down there in that same room, somebody posed the question, what in the case of emergencies? And there was mention of some kind of fund that people could get a temporary fund from, or a temporary allocation while this was going on. And if so, how many of these people
We had
have received that?
we had $1,681.67 that we had donations out of the community. Of that, we were able to help 17 people. We have $142 left in that account. We averaged anywhere from $35 to $200 depending on the circumstances. So based upon the circumstances, we were able to help those, some individuals might be.
Some who were
Right.
waiting for their
Right.
stamps and all. So we would, and let me hear you right, did you say 30, 35 people?
Now we helped 17 people.
70.
You helped 17 people, but we've got 9, whatever.
Got a few
And it
dollars.
changes by the day. Do these numbers include the up-to-date numbers of this month or whatever?
The up-to-date numbers for this month is for the month of July is 2,354 cases.
In other words, with this 928 and what they have to do for this month, each of these added together, this about 1,200 that I'm looking at here, plus what we have, there's
2,354.
2,354 cases.
I guess, yeah.
That would bring me one more question, and then, since I don't seem to hear too well, I'll rest a little bit on the questions, and I still contend I heard that. Having said that, tell me, I want to know, thus far, when we said we would make it, and it was an all-force
I did
effort,
too. I looked at
when
this and
will,
this.
if I were one of these customers, or I am a board member, when will this expect to be? Maybe Brian, maybe we need Ms. Revels, I don't know if they can even talk to us or not, but maybe we need somebody to answer. When can these people expect
To
for this
get
to
it.
be complete?
We are shooting for August the 31st. I am going
2 more
over.
months.
2 months?
I'm going over because what I'm trying to do, we need to get the backlog done as well as the current. So we will have to work on the backlog as well as the current in order to catch up. I'm going over tomorrow morning at 8:30 to meet with the Food and Nutrition Service staff, with Brian and the supervisors, to sit down with them to discuss the issue and see whether or not they have any good ideas on how we can get it done. I have some suggestions, but I want to put it out to the staff to see whether or not they have any ideas on how we can accomplish what we need to do.
Are
And
staff allowed?
That's
are-
reasonable.
Yeah, are staff allowed to communicate with those of us?
I would appreciate if staff communicate with either one of you that I am aware.
Let me,
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
I have no
I
problem
don't
with
like
staff
belaboring.
talking to you, but I just think that as a manager, I need to be aware
Yes.
that staff are,
Have you indicated to the staff they're not to talk to us?
no, I have not.
Okay.
I think it's good protocol, really, that he knows it.
Oh, I agree.
I understand it's good protocol, but I don't think it should be a directive that if we have a question, we ought to be able to ask. But let me tell you what my concern is. When I looked at this sheet of paper, and y'all know how good I am in math, I did get the same number that Charles got that time. And so I looked at this, and I looked at this because this is why I like actual numbers. And I looked at when these calls are coming in, doing it, look like the recertification. I realize this is a 2012 accounting. But then, when you look at this, and you look at these, it's still like out of kilter.
I will have to apologize. You have the wrong telephone log in your report. So I will apologize that you should have had one from January the 1st up until.
That's what I sort of thought, and I
Yeah,
said,
but
I got a
You got the wrong,
2012.
you got the wrong one in your packet.
Did
So
y'all
I
get
will-
2012 too?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that I won't beat the dead man because he's already dead. But I like to say, I have some concern about this. And as a community representative, the family shouldn't be, suffering this much with that. And we should make some effort of getting these on. And the dollar amount, Eugene, you remember when I was talking about a whole lot of money going on a card and that they said it wouldn't happen. But this is why there's big dollar amounts going on these cards. And I'm concerned at what happens when they get those huge dollar amounts all at once. It's a opportunity for abuse. Is that a good word?
Well, I guess you could say abuse, yeah.
Yeah. I want to be careful about using certain.
Well, and I'm worried about in the interim. You
Yeah.
know, If there's
Yes.
2,300 and we
23.
did, I'll just back up to Gene, maybe
Mm-hmm.
there'll be more people here. But if there was 1,100 done, then in 2 more months from right now, we may not, at the end of August, we may not yet be through.
We're
And
not.
I have a concern that the people, there's coming a point that the dates we are given are going to have to be hard. I mean, they're going to have to be. It can't just float and float, and, well, I didn't understand we said that, or I didn't say that, or we didn't get it, an email that we didn't, not because of us, nothing to do with us, but because of the people that we are all up here to represent. And these are people for whom, yes, there is that chance when they get it. But again, I can't help but think, if there's 2,300 people, then there's more families and more lives, way more affected than that. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's got to be children in homes, there's got to be all of that.
It's a
And how does
combination
this-
of
How does this
children,
get it?
family, because you're looking at 2,345 cases, but that does not say how many
Well, kids add into that.
houses. That doesn't say how many in the family.
All right, yeah,
So
and
you're
that's my
looking at
point.
more than
These
just
are
one person.
affected people if it's behind. What is a date? And I think the public on television and all of us are kind of down to the point that we, for them, and they deserve not a try or not a shot at, but what is a date that it is going to be one half completed and up to date? And I think that's not unreasonable to
It's not
ask. A
unreasonable.
hard date.
I am shooting for August the 31st, but I am going over tomorrow morning to sit down with our food and nutrition service staff to make sure that there's no barriers in place to keep them from getting this accomplished. We have moved back to, in food and nutrition services, that all the workers are not carrying the caseload. So instead of we having 6 on intake and the rest carrying the caseload, everything has been divided equally among all the staff. So when you look at it from that perspective, they have less reader terms to do overall.
When you,
With that.
We've been given that before, George, and it sounds like I'm kind of going hard
No,
on this, but
well-
I'm thinking for all these affected people, what is a date that you and Brian's a supervisor, that you will put your job and your
Operations.
career on and say it will be up to date here? What's a date? The public has a right to know that as they wait and as they borrow money from relatives or whatever they do to get by. They have a right to know what a date. What is a date that you all will put your careers on?
I thought it said August 31st.
Is that what you'll put it on? Are you all comfortable with that? I mean, we can't just say, well, I'm
I'm
shooting
not.
for maybe.
I'm not comfortable putting my career on a date. Number one, there's a lot of variables that's in place.
I guess one thing that we're seeing and concerned about is the kind of the moving target, and we're looking at 2,300 people, 2,300 cases,
19,
and it's kind of moving,
22, 30.
and So what happens is that a lot of people are without resources, and they're running very thin. And that's our concern, is that we continue to have that as an issue, and that we're not getting a lot of these people in. In normal times, before we went from NC Fast, well, before that, how many people were we, for lack of better terms, behind, were not certified in general, before we switched over?
I have no idea.
Is this a lot more?
This is a lot more because we did not have this problem before we switched over to NC Fast. Because everything was already in the system, so it was a matter of just taking the information and recertifying. So this is a whole new game.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask Dwayne a question. We hired temporary employees. Was it 8? Was it 8 or 4?
It was eight.
8. Are those people working?
No, they're not.
They finished, didn't they?
They finished as of
According to the date.
July 1st.
Are the state people still here?
The
The
state
he
people
said
still
4
here.
of those were still.
I
Just
thought
4
the
of
state
those.
people left too.
I
The
did.
state
No, no.
people.
What about, Dwayne, say all the temporary employees, none of them are working now, is that correct? He said.
None of them are working.
That
Do
would-
we
they're-
need them?
As I understand it, they would have finished June 30. But there is money in the budget that was approved this year for additional temporary.
Yeah, that's
help.
right. We can talk all we want to, but the bottom line is, we want to meet the state requirements that have been set
Mr. James,
forth.
we want to do the same thing.
I know
And
you
I
do.
do not think at the present time that bringing the temps would help us solve the issue.
They gotta be-
What
They gotta be experienced, Tim.
I need is for staff to stop depending upon the temps, sit back down and do the work that they need to do. We have finished the majority of the conversions have been completed. So at the most, you have about 300 conversions a month. So we have the state people here doing the conversion. All our staff have to do now is just take the SR and do the updated information. So when we had all those staff here, they were basically helping us do the conversions and key the information in. Now we are in the second phase where the majority of the cases have already been loaded into NC Fast.
Now, that means that you'll be able
I want to ask Brian
to
a
finish.
question.
Oh, hold on. That means you'll be able to complete in a month, maybe 1,100 a month?
We want to shoot for more than 1,100 because my thing is that
Got-
we need to get current, which means that everything need to be done within that month. So that's why,
Black one place, you went on black somewhere else.
no, we're not planning on that.
I want to ask a question. I think, Brian, you're the one that, these people, they're on a quota, is that right? That they have to do so many in a certain length of time for us to catch up?
That's correct. They need to be working on their current caseload plus what's behind. You have
Right,
to work
right.
on both in order to move
Now,
forward.
that means that, we all are not with the same talent and the same ability. It takes some longer to do than it does others. All right, now, are these people going overtime to meet their quotas, or how does that work?
Yes, they are allowed to work overtime. There's no control or limit on that right now. We've gotten approval for them to work whatever overtime they will work to get their own work done. And
60 hours, and then we have to get
right,
permission
we
from
have to get approval to go beyond 60 hours.
Do they
once we
get
that.
6 hours, is that in a week?
No.
No.
That's 60 accumulated total
Oh.
once they get to that point.
A pay period or for the year?
Just total, at any given time, 60 hours is the max, and then if we request for them to go over 60 and it's approved, then they can work beyond
Do
that.
they get overtime pay for
They
this?
get comp time, they
Comp
get
time, but
leave.
not
leave.
overtime
That's
pay.
correct, they're not paid.
So as time goes on, they're going to get that time. so
At
to
some
speak.
point, they would either
They would
take
some
the
point.
time, or if they left,
But-
they would be paid
but-
at the time they leave the
See,
county.
I got really concerned when I went out there before 8 o'clock and you have 100 people there in line, having to give them numbers. And that really, I don't like that. I don't think, and these people that we're dealing with out there, they're poor people. They're uneducated people. They don't have any education at all. And somebody has to help them, and it so happens that social services that one that has to help these people.
A lot of the people that are out there in the morning, they're not there for food and nutritional service. Some of those are there for help with the utility bill.
I realize
So it's a
that.
combination of why people.
But
I have
anyway,
a question.
Mary, Mary hasn't said anything. Why don't you go, Mary?
Mr. Perry,
Yeah.
I was under the understanding that back before the meeting that we had in A-Wing, that there was a strategy that y'all had in place that when activated, it would hopefully take care of all of these numbers. And then I keep hearing about meetings and meetings and meetings. What happened to that strategic plan?
We have a strategic plan in place. Our strategic plan in place was that we will have 6 people on intake and the remainder of the staff doing research. Then we have some vacancies that came up, which dropped the number of people that you have being able to do research, because if you got vacancies, then that caseload got to be carried by someone else. Although work got to be split up. So what we're looking at, taking the 6 people that we have on intake, putting those 6 people back in a caseload, which would therefore divide up the amount of returns that we have to do.
What would be the possibility of getting some of your old food stamp workers? And one of the ones that I have in mind worked in the last temporary to do like the intake where they know the questions to ask, what to include, what not to include. Wouldn't that help, and especially if there is money in the budget for the temps, to get people who've done the food stamp process?
I would have to check on that, because when we said that, when we did our temp, we were looking at 10 additional months to use our temps. And I do not, personally talking to myself, I think that we got the vacancies, but we got to get staff back to doing their work. And when we have a lot of additional help, sometimes that help becomes a hindrance in the people producing what they need to produce, because they are dependent on those other people to get them through. And at some point in time, that group of people will leave, and then we'll be stuck with people not being able to do those functions that they need to do. So I am trying to take the staff that we got, get them back into the mode of doing their work, not having someone else that you can depend on, knowing that we have already completed the majority of our conversions, because that was the hardest part during the conversions, because everything had to be keyed into a new system. We have done the majority of those conversions. So now at 300 conversions, that's not that many. We got the state staff still here to do the conversion. So if I can get the staff back to doing their research, working to see how we need to get them done, and if I got a weak person, then pairing that weak person up with someone else, looking at where's your strengths. You know, you might not be a fast keyer, but you might be able to contact the client and get the information they needed to process the case. So we're going to be looking at how can we take what we have in-house, use staff to their strengths to get it done, knowing that we have to do both. You got to do your return, overdue as well as your current in order to become current. And we want to knock all that pass-through stuff out, so you just be working on your current stuff.
Mr. Perry, I want to know the meeting or the consultation you had with Brian related to because I think he handles operations, is that correct?
Right.
And when you look at this sheet on your vacancies and your number of resignations, and you look at the casework over here and the phone log, is there a message that you received from this?
Some of the people that has resigned,
You know, because I
You know,
haven't seen, you know, we haven't seen, I haven't seen this many resignations before, John.
well, when you're looking at one resignation, actually you got two in food and nutritional service, two in child support.
The reason I asked about that, because I know you have shifted some,
Yeah.
or maybe I don't know, but I was under the impression that you shifted some staff from one department over to this
Right.
department in order to meet those needs, because we're not working on Medicaid right now. We were working on food and nutrition.
have-
So you sort of used the fill-in. That was
Yeah,
my impression.
we are
I may be
using-
wrong.
No, you're right. We're using family and children Medicaid and adult Medicaid to do our care line, customer care line, and to answer clients' calls, to deal with the walk-in. So we have used staff in-house to free up our food and nutrition service staff, that they mainly devote their time.
I
to
got
this.
a message from that,
Yeah.
and I didn't get a good message, so.
But we
I'm
have,
finished. I'm
when
finished.
people
I'm
are
finished.
resigning, they're resigning for different reasons. You know, some resign to take a less stressful job, which you know, when you look at it, the work is not going to get any easier here. And sometimes people can deal with change in different ways. Sometimes people are willing to accept change and move forward, and sometimes people cannot move out of the old way of doing things, and this is a new way of doing things. Not that much client contact, is more being able to do things on the computer. So if you love client contact, then this problem is not going to be, not where you want to be.
George, I'm still concerned about the number of workers, because Medicaid's coming up, and the implementation of the Medicaid is going to have to be thought about. And you had your workers, they obviously were not being able to get the job done, so we got temporaries. Okay, even with your temporaries, you couldn't get the job done. So what's going to be different with the staff that you had and the staff you have, and included in that, staff that is resigning, plus the Medicaid coming down the pipe?
Medicaid will come down the pike in August.
Yeah.
July the 15th, they will be doing the pilot. A lot of the Medicaid cases, July the 15th, they got 3 counties that will be doing the pilot for Medicaid. August the 19th, we are scheduled to go live just for the applications, not for the reviews. Then when they move to NC Fast for Medicaid, a lot of the cases that we have in Medicaid will already be set up because some of the clients receive food stamps. So they're already in NC Fast.
But it has to be introduced into the system,
Right, but
doesn't
they're
it?
already in NC Fast, so it'll be another step. Then we have, that's why we opted for I think it was 8 temporary staff to come in August as we transition into family and children Medicaid and Medicaid. So we have that staff that will be pulling in to come and help with family and children Medicaid. That's why it's important now for us to get food and nutrition service backlog current, so when we move into the next phase, we will not have that problem. That's why we're moving and trying to get food and nutrition service current, so that when August roll around, when we go live, and it's just going to be for applications. It's not going to be for reviews for family and children Medicaid. So family and children Medicaid will still be using EIS systems up until, I think, November.
What happens if a person who's never been on Medicaid comes in
They
and
will be,
applies?
if a person that never received Medicaid.
And didn't receive food stamps.
They would be in the application phase, which all applications beginning in August would be in NC Fast. That would be all applications, not reviews, it'd just be applications. So if someone come in to apply, they will be in NC phase.
I guess one thing that we're looking at, and you brought up a valid point, that there's another big requirement coming up, which is Medicaid you're talking about, and that's going to be another stressor on the system. What would you?
If I could just, one of the things that I would definitely recommend is going to be important. Sounds like we still don't know whether we have a resource problem or if it's a productivity problem. And depending on what the answer to that is, should really dictate what direction we take. And if we can't put our finger on whether it's a resource problem or a productivity problem, then we're just going to continue to perpetuate the problem. And as you say, as we bring on a new system or bring on Medicaid, it's just going to dig the hole even deeper. I think tomorrow, in your meeting tomorrow morning, it's going to be important to determine, again, whether we have a resource problem or a productivity problem. And from the county's perspective, I would just say that one of the issues of concern would be that we based the need in this New Year's budget of the number of temporary staff, we based that on kind of what was requested last year to get us caught up. And so if we haven't been able to get caught up, then the question is, do we have enough resource in the budget for next year to deal with Medicaid? And if not, then that's going to be another issue that's going to come back that may need a budget amendment, another increase. And I think that the county's going to be very cautious to put any additional resources to the effort until, again, we determine whether it's truly a resource problem, whether it's a productivity problem, and even aside, in addition to the resource, you also have to look at the management of the resources. So until we can put our finger on that, we really need to be clear on what the real problem is, and then you can take steps to correct.
I want to ask this. On the NC Pass, we talked about, our personnel would have to be trained to do Medicaid and food stamps all in one. Am I not right?
That's correct.
All right, now, and then this comes to productivity, like Dwayne is talking about. All right, where can our personnel now do that?
Okay. The answer to that is now they are accessing their preliminary training online, which they do on their own online.
Okay.
They have to, once they get that completed, it's online. So in Raleigh, they can check to see if those that are entering the classroom phase of it have completed that, which they have to complete that before they take the classroom part.
Right.
The classroom part will be done here in our building, in a big conference room we have in August. So they'll get the classroom training in August that's when the state provides the training for this. So that's the answer. And everybody, not just Medicaid workers, but the food and nutrition services workers will also have this part of the training as well.
How long will that training
Yeah,
be?
that's the key to it, to my opinion, and we must.
It's 2.5 days classroom. Each caseworker would have 2.5 days in the classroom with the trainers from Raleigh.
Are we on schedule for training?
Yes, we are.
Now, is it going to be done?
It will be done. Yes, it's
Because it's a
scheduled.
key to it, without
Yeah.
that.
And it's required. I mean, it's not a matter of whether we choose.
Yeah, I
to do
know
or
it.
not.
It's
Not-
required.
It's a mandated training.
Charlie?
I can understand, and I'll make a comment, and then I have a question. If there are employees, and there always is, George is correct, that the change sometimes takes a bit longer or is more difficult for. Having said that, we must be putting a killing on some good employees. There must be some good employees that are getting absolutely slaughtered.
Absolutely.
That's my comment. Having said that, I would like to know where, I mean, we have the management of this right here. Where do we expect to be? We say, well, the end of August, we may be caught up, but I'm not willing to put my job on it. So where would we expect to be at the end of July? Let's not wait till the end of August, because we've got all of this and training and everything else coming on board right in the middle of that. So where, as a board and where as the client world watching us, where should they expect us to be? If we are 2,300 now, will we be back down to what this report showed at 11 or 1,200? Or where would we likely be? I think that's a reasonable question. If I were receiving the assistance and the help for myself and my family, I think that's a reasonable question to ask.
I would like to be, at the end of July, having all the past dues done, and at least half of the July research completed, which would put me going into August with half of the July research and all of August research.
Well, and for me,
Yeah.
let me say for me, if I seem intense on this, the further back we go, and I understand that sometimes information is hard to obtain, we've all heard that, and understand that. But these that are way past due are the ones that the most intensity is occurring for the family. And like you say, if it's something that came in mid-month or end of the month, and there is some delay there, I think that's more understandable than 300 in May and 40 or whatever in months before that. Those people bound to be reaching a critical state. Having said that, yes, I'm dissatisfied with what I see, and I understand that it's management issues that we have to bring people up, and some may make it and some may not. But the bottom line is we gotta render the service, whatever it takes. Do you expect, and my last question, do you expect to have, if you have had some off, let me pose it as a question on the record, because evidently I heard it wrong before, but do you expect to have, it is summer, do you expect to have great numbers of the key staff of this that will be on vacation from here on through July and August?
I have instructed Brian that no one would be taking vacation unless their case is current. So Brian has already instructed his food and nutrition service staff that begin in July, unless their caseload is current, they will not be approved for vacation.
I thought y'all weren't in caseloads anymore.
I just said that we have put our food and nutrition service staff back into caseloads. So all our staff will, food and nutrition service, have a caseload that they're responsible for.
I had a question and a couple of things that I want the board to listen to see how they feel about it. The first thing is, I was trying to get an idea before NC Fast, how many people were we behind in research and things like that. Should that 2,300, should that be zero? Is that reasonable?
Before NC Fast, it probably would have been zero.
It had been zero, okay.
Because staff was able to do everything they needed to do, and it was not a matter of learning something. It was a matter of taking the information, putting it in.
Will you have any county people there at your meeting tomorrow morning at that meeting, or will it just be your people?
It would just be my people.
Yeah, because I want them at the county, we're the ones going to have to come up with this personnel and so forth. I want them to be very much involved, and I think we've got a smart
Dwayne is
man over
welcome
there.
to come
He
if
can
he-
tell you where it's going to be
Yeah.
productivity, resources, or what it might be, and that is going to be the problem.
As he has identified those three areas, would it be unreasonable, Eugene, to ask, and he is looking from a budgetary view, which is you all's major
we
effect,
have
but
to.
would it be wrong to ask him to attend that meeting, or that meeting be scheduled so that he can attend it
I
think
and
he
help
have to.
determine?
He might not be able to do it.
The meeting is at 8:30.
Is that something he can do?
But this is how our broad
Sure.
is.
One of the, I have some ideas about some things, but I want to keep the questions coming. So I'm developing some things that I think would help us out. First thing is for the meeting tomorrow, as a board member, and I'd like the other board members for us to have those minutes maybe by a week. Is that reasonable?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then every week, every 2 weeks that we get a report on what's going on in the numbers, things of that nature,
Okay.
that we get that. The other thing that I'm thinking, and since Eugene and this is the money side, in a sense, we're well, not in a sense, but we're in a big crisis here, and we're looking at 2,300 cases that we're behind. And I know we're talking about productivity versus resources and things of that nature. My feeling, and I want to share this, is that we need more people working, because I'm not getting the feeling, and I may be wrong, I'm not getting the feeling that more people that are working are causing confusion or errors or mistakes. And so I'm saying, is it reasonable at this point, and you guys are certainly the money people, is it reasonable to get more people, to err on the side of having more staff than less staff?
Yeah, but George has said that sometimes you can have too much personnel to get in each other's way. And that's where it's got to come. We got to decide, is it the personnel, is it a resource, or what it is? That's
How
what,
much-
and
how
I
much-
think that's
how
what
much
he's talking
time do
about
we
doing
have
tomorrow.
Productivity.
How much time do we have to find that, though?
Yeah.
We're running
That's,
short.
that's what they're going to
We're
do.
running real short.
Yeah.
One of the questions, and if Dwayne can attend that tomorrow and just help with those identities, does that look like that's reasonable?
Yeah, yes, I can be available.
Thank you, sir.
And I would just say that back when we looked at the resources initially, we did not come up with the number 8. If 16 would have come forward, I believe you would have gotten approval for 16.
That's right.
Because
we
we
want it
felt
fixed.
like the situation was that dire at the time. I just can't. I just want to make sure you don't think that the 8 was something that we put a cap on.
That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because-
that was not something, we basically asked what was needed, that's what was given to us, and I think from the county's perspective, again, we anticipate whatever is needed is what I think we're willing to do. But we have to identify what the
Right,
true
absolutely.
need is,
Well,
and
well,
not just necessarily
We don't
assume
want
that it's
body
resources.
staff
Yeah.
just to fill a position
Yeah.
that's not going to do anything.
Right.
And
Right.
would it
We want
be,
productivity.
in thinking of options based on the crisis, and we would all, for the sake of the client, hate to get another letter that said, well, we missed it, and this is where we are, and this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna have meetings, and this is how we're gonna plan. Would it be possible to contact the state? And if, I can understand that if you have a temp who doesn't know the system, maybe they can answer phones, and maybe some of the temps can help. There may be a few that have some experience. But would it be possible if we, at least at the state level, it says we're making an all-out effort, if they would send us
There is
two,
stuff.
I know, but if they would send us 2 more skilled people, if we paid for 2 skilled people that could come in and both be teaching and doing, I'll say, as opposed to 8 temps who've got to be introduced to the door in the room and what you want me to do. If that's possible, could we explore that? Anything that really, really cuts these numbers down.
As I understand it, the temps were people that had been involved in the program before. Is that correct, George?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, the temps knew what was going on, so
Okay.
they didn't have to get that much training.
I've come to this conclusion about the state, and George, I think you kind of got from you, that the state is willing to help us. They've got 4 people down here now, and they're being paid by the state, I assume, aren't they? And they want us to take, and of course, it's a big job, I know it is. It's not easy. And a lot of our personnel, I know the morale is not good.
That's right.
And we need to do all we can to help them. And that's what I'm supposing, Dwayne, that's the reason he's sitting here, to make sure that he kind of leads us down that path that we need to travel.
Thanks to the many somebodies who bound to be getting worked to death in this.
Absolutely.
Thanks to them, let that be on, let the public understand that.
Again, I guess my concern is, how long is it gonna take before we know, do we need more people, or is it a productivity?
But that's, tomorrow, you should have
Well,
some answers.
you think we'll be able to,
At least
what do you think, Dwayne?
I would hope so.
Okay.
you can do it.
All right,
I think, I would say that I would like for there to be some data available at that meeting so we can assess actual facts rather than perceptions and
Yeah.
and that type.
Facts is what we need now.
yeah, I guess that, I don't think that would be pretty quick to get that data together.
Hopefully.
You know,
Oh, yeah, we've been working on that.
I guess, again, for the people that are not getting their assistance, what kind of provisions are we making for them? I know we have some money left, but what other kind of resources are available for them?
We still have the food bank available and the other churches that we have given them a list well. So when clients call us, we have those resources out in the community that we refer them to.
And because I've talked with some citizens that have gone there, and some have gotten help. One of the things that we had talked about, and I'm going to keep this open, what are the ramifications from the state with us being this far behind?
At the present time, the state has not said anything about ramifications because we are not the only one experiencing this problem. And this is a whole new system statewide, so everyone is going through the same process.
Yeah.
So the state, that's why the state have additional staff that they're sending out to the counties to help, because they realize that this is a new process and they have to help the counties to get through it.
Now, I got a report, I don't know, I got something that, and I think it was from you, I think, in terms of where we are statewide with making some changes, and it seemed like we were pretty good. And I don't remember that report. Do you guys remember that at all?
One of these.
No, it was something I got an email in terms of where we were in this process.
Wasn't that from Hardick Patel?
That
Yeah.
might,
Data.
that might have
that
been
was
data
about
on the
connectivity.
BAM
That was our
connectivity.
connectivity.
That was about computer.
Joe,
No, that was about where we are in terms of number of cases.
has the state at any time, didn't they send more, didn't they have 8 people here? at one
Yeah,
time?
they have 8 people at one
Could
time.
we request them to take into?
I will contact them and see whether or not we can get additional help.
Let's do that.
Sure.
Because the county doesn't have money just to, Dwayne knows what I'm talking about. We have to pinch money.
So what you're saying, we have four state now. I tell you what, why don't we?
Can
why
we
don't-
wait until tomorrow's meeting?
Yeah, wait,
Yeah,
let's wait till tomorrow. Let's
To
wait till
get the
tomorrow.
state people?
Can we
To
get a
request-
report? Can we, as the board, get a report on that from Dwayne or from you or from the two of you together, letting information follow its correct paths?
Yeah.
What type of report do you want?
Report on the meeting tomorrow,
Okay.
what is identified.
I want, I said that,
I thought you said about the minutes anyway.
about a week.
Yeah,
Is that, how's that?
He said the minutes.
yeah, the minutes,
Yeah.
but the minutes may not be a report of findings, it may just be a
Okay.
report, a listing of discussions.
Okay.
I'd like to know it one step farther, where we have opportunities and a plan for those opportunities, not identify it and wait a week or two and we'll be in August while we come up with a plan.
So you're saying that with the minutes, and
With
then
the
this,
minute.
and I think this would kind of structure the meeting a little bit, is that with the minutes, that we're wanting a plan.
the findings, and then a plan. Because
And
again, if
then-
we wait even a week or two, if we wait a week, then we're
Yeah.
ready into August. Here
Then
we go.
any suggestions that Dwayne, as an outsider, yet insider, very important insider, might have to offer.
One of the things, it seems that this might be appropriate is, Dwayne, for any suggestions that you have to outline those, be able to do that? Okay.
Look,
Can we
may
go
I
for the
may I
order of
suggest
the day?
that she be sworn
The
in? I
order
know
of- Let's
that.
go to
Okay.
the order of the
Yeah,
day.
I know that little girl, she's getting
Let's
tired
do
of
the
it.
order of
Okay.
the day.
She's getting tired.
We're still, I guess, okay, so we can do that and then
Yeah.
come back to this? Is that what you're saying?
I think
Okay,
she needs- So,
All
I
right.
know she's ready.
okay, all right.
That's a busy.
Why don't we
piece of that.
kind of move that up to swearing in of Mary Perkins?
All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for having me again today. And so I'm going to now administer the oath of office to Mary Perkins Williams, if you will raise your right hand. And you'll just say, "I do" at the appropriate time. Do you, Mary Perkins Williams, solemnly affirm that you will support and maintain the Constitution of the United States? I do. And do you, Mary Perkins Williams, solemnly affirm that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability? And do you, Mary Perkins Williams, solemnly affirm that you will well and truly execute the duties of your office as a member of Pitt County Board of Social Services according to the best of your skill and ability and according to law, so help you God?
I do.
Let me be the first to congratulate
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
I guess we need to have a round of applause for Mary deciding to sit up here again.
Thank you. And thanks to those who found it worthy to reappoint me.
Okay, we're at the selection of board chairman, and we will open it up for nomination for selection of board chairman.
Oops. Okay, let's give it up.
I would nominate Johnny Hamilton.
That's-
We have a nomination of Johnny Hamilton. We have a second.
Second.
I guess we'll close it unless we have another.
I move the nominations to close and be accepted by a commission.
Okay, all in favor of Dr. Hamilton?
Aye.
I know three.
All right.
You
Well,
both say aye.
I turn it back over to Dr. Hamilton. Congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you. Round of applause for me doing this again. Okay, thank you for your feeling that I'll, continue, and for your encouragement. Now going to go on to vice chair nominations. Am I able to make that? Yeah, for vice chair, I would like to nominate Mary Perkins for vice chair.
I move the nomination to be closed, Mr.
Got
Chairman.
to have a second.
A second then. A second.
I move the nominations closed.
Nomination has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Well, thank you, Vice Chair. I guess that means that we can't go
Thanks to the
on.
board for the confidence you
Yes.
placed in me and for Johnny being present all the time.
I guess that means we can't fly on the same plane now? You have to Pitt County 2 and I'm on Pitt County 1? Okay. All right. I guess what we need to do is kind of,
I'm hoping
Hmm?
that we finish that last agenda item with the fact that he's going to report to us and get back so that
Yeah.
we won't.
Yeah, 'cause we can keep our.
I hope we move
our
forward on our
Okay.
agenda, Mr. Chairman.
report.
is everybody feeling fine about that?
Yes.
I came up with some ideas in terms of the meeting report, Q 2 weeks, and we'll get a report back.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now we're going down to the reports to the board, the technology report.
Okay, on page 7, you have the technology report, which is brought to the board, every other month. There are before you are the 8 projects that the, technology project team is currently working on. And they are listed in the priority in which we are working on them. If you see the priority list to your far, left. And if you want an explanation of what each one of these is, I can go down them and explain to you what they are. The first one listed is communicator, and that is the system that we use to notify people to report when there is shelter duty. And we have
Just the staff, is that
just
correct?
the DSS staff
Mhm.
to report to shelter duty. All contact information is currently in that system for that to happen at this point. The next project we have is WeServe, which is a program to log and track client issues. This is the project that Mr. Mayo had been concerned about for months. We are ready to go live with that project. We were scheduled to go live on Monday, but because of the holiday and getting the supervisors trained in the software, it has been delayed until the 11th. We will go live on the 11th with tracking our client issues. I do want to say that the information that is logged into WeServe can either be positive information or it could be issues that warrant action by the agency also. So it can be either positive or negative. And we are also, within WeServe, we are also tracking raw data for NC-FAST. We are looking at raw data around, has the client received their EBT card? Has the social worker returned the client call? Are the funds correct on the EBT card? And there was one other thing that we were tracking on that. Are the benefits available for use on the EBT card? Once Medicaid goes into effect, we will also be able to track whether the concern by the client is whether Medicaid is active or not for their use. So we already have that in the system, or the issue could also be other. So Ms. Revilla and Ms. Sampson are tracking the raw data for NC-FAST under WeServe also.
One of the things that we were concerned about is how readily available will that data be?
Once we start putting the data in the system, we should be able to check within 30 days to see what the data looks like. Another part of WeServe is the ability to run whatever reports that we need to run.
How long will those reports take usually? Just guessing.
Just depend, whatever we indicate in the system that we want run, we should be able to run a report immediately based
So
on
if
that.
we asked about, one of the things that we're concerned about, issues with NC-FAST, would that be able to come up in that
Yes.
report?
Yes, we should
All
be
right.
able to run a report on, with our customer care unit. Our customer care unit is a unit that is logging in the data, the raw data around NC-FAST. And we should be able to run that data around whatever that concern was we had the supervisors identify the 4 areas that would be a major concern that we would track through the raw data, and we should be able to run whatever report is necessary for that data.
Okay.
So we will go live with WeServe on the 11th, which is it Thursday? On Thursday. We should go live with that. Then we have the CPS note card system. This is will be logging and tracking data for Child Protective Services clients. This is around when we had a fatality review which identified that we still had our families on note cards in terms of how we were tracking the historical information on our families. So currently, we've put that on hold because we're looking at other options of tracking that data at this point.
What, I guess one of the things, since I see that part, CPS and APS, that I guess we're 10% completed, and due to some major issues with people making complaints to CPS and the workers following the children that have been involved in complaints. And we're looking at other options, computer options.
Yeah, if you would look at number 5, which is Northwoods and Advanced Imaging Systems Analysis. If you look at number 5, Northwoods is a data management company that we are having to look at our CPS program and is doing an in-depth analysis of our program. They were here from July 1st to the 3rd to do that analysis. And they are technology software developers who only work with human services agencies. And they have worked with us for 3 days, and they are going to provide us a report on how we do our work, give us a cost of how to automate our system. They're going to provide us with a monetary cost, and then also they're going to look at over time how we could automate the system and provide services to our clients at a lesser cost. That's what they're looking at for us.
So this 90% here, just about done, would really affect that 10%?
Yes.
It would go up dramatically? Okay.
And PJ, Ms. Quinn and I also visited another company in Pineville, North Carolina, which is also a software developing company, to also look at document management for the agency and what that would look like in terms of another company looking at scanning our records for us and that kind of thing. So number 5 and looking those 2 companies looking at doing that analysis of our agency and our workflow does relate back to the CPS card system at number 3.
All right.
Okay. The front desk data management analysis is on hold because that's going to be an NC fast function at some point. So that is on hold for right now. The GIS mapping, which we are looking at the mapping of our foster homes and mapping of clients' home within the CPS area to look at management of that more efficiently by certain workers covering certain areas of the county. That is currently on hold also because Northwoods and AIS may be able to help us in those areas too when they come back and give us the report on their analysis of our work. When Northwoods was here, they actually went out in the field with our social workers, did home visits, and met with every area in child welfare. So we're looking forward to their report coming back and giving us some idea of how we can work with our automation of our note card system and automation of the mapping the areas for the workers in the county. Number 7 is check-in version 2 updates. That's what we use to clock in and out of the system during the day to show our arrival time, lunch time, field visits, and it also includes a field itinerary for social workers where we can go in and see at any time of day where they are out in the field. We're going to be, at this point, looking at that system again to update the system. We started back in February with the new system, and it's about time to look at it in terms of updates. And then there's the court document scanning into document management, and that's also on hold right now. There has been some scanning of our court documents into the system, but that's eventually also going to be a NC Fast function also. So right now, those things that we're working with NC Fast, we've kind of gotten on, they're on hold right now to see what's going to happen with them with NC Fast system. So those are the 8 things that we're currently working on. I would like to also say that as things come up with NC Fast, we're also moving back and forth with that to work out any issues that come up with NC Fast, because Mr. Patel, that you may see some emails from him around working with how quickly our computers are moving from one page to another in the system and that kind of thing. So he's working with us on other NC Fast issues also.
And my assumption is, as we had talked about before, that the IS assistance is adequate at this point, and we have the
Yes.
bandwidth and those things. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, were there any questions on this? Thank you for bringing this, because this helps us out a lot, and you said it in English so that we could understand it. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the P2 and 6 update, and that's by Brian.
P2 and 6 refers to Project 2 and 6, which is NC Fast implementation of Medicaid and Work First. The pilot counties, the 3 pilot counties, will begin implementation of this project on July 15th. Our soft launch date for Pitt County is August 19th. At that time, we will be doing Medicaid applications only in the NC Fast system, in addition to the Food and Nutrition Services components of reviews and applications. Our hard launch would occur sometime in November of 2013, and at that point, we would be doing applications and reviews for all of Medicaid, and in addition to Food and Nutrition Services and Work First in the NC Fast system. We talked previously about training that's coming up, that's available and is required. Staff members are now accessing the online pre-training, which they must complete before they are eligible to complete classroom training, which is going to be held during the month of August, and it's being held here in Pitt County. We are a regional training site. I would just like to highlight some of the best practices that we are implementing and following. Our state liaison provided us with recommendations as to how to proceed with our organization of the NC Fast implementation. And we have followed these instructions through our committee work and putting together our organizational structure. One of the things is to have a common intake unit, and we will begin using the common intake unit in August when we implement this Project 2 and 6. So this means that applications for Food and Nutrition Services and Medicaid will be taken by that intake unit in August. We also have multidisciplinary teams put together to help support the staff, because staff are going to be working with all programs, and so the multidisciplinary teams have been put together, and we've paired up staff members who have experience in different program areas so they can work together. We've done that for the intake piece of it, as well as the redetermination units that have been formed to complete the reviews. We've talked a little bit about cross-training. We have training modules for the program policies and concepts that staff members can access, and then to see how well they did with the training, they can take a test at the end to see what they might need to work on, if there are areas that they need to improve in or to learn more about. There's a testing component for that, as well as the actual NC Fast computer program to use for applications and reviews. We are moving staff within the Human Services Center so we can put these interdisciplinary teams together, so their offices are within close proximity to each other to further foster their being able to work together. One of the other best practices, of course, is filling vacancies as quickly as possible, which, based on today's report, you can see we've been diligent in getting the positions filled, and there's still some on there. Once they're opened up, we will continue in that direction. One thing I can say is, during the last group of people that we've selected and offers have been, and the offers that have been made, we do have 2 employees that we were able to select that have accepted our offer, that already have experience using NC Fast and are already are experienced in the Food and Nutrition Services program. So as soon as they come, they'll be able to go ahead and help us with the backlog project we're working on. But the fact that they already are trained in NC Fast is a plus to us, and we're trying to bring in people that are experienced as much as possible. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. we will be meeting with Kathy Hardison, who is our NC Fast Readiness Liaison, and she will be reviewing with us our readiness plan and looking at where we are, what we've accomplished, other things we need to focus on in order to be ready for the implementation on August 19th. And that's my report on Project P2.
You're meeting with her tomorrow at
10 o'clock. That's correct.
Can you give us some feedback on that? Because I think that's, again, something that we would need to know in terms of our overall readiness.
We can, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
Okay.
uh-huh.
All right, we're going to go on to the director's report, and that'll be by Dr.
The
George Perry.
director's report, you have information on North Carolina and the Affordable Care Act, showing that October the 1st will be the start of the open enrollment period, and all Medicaid applications must be taken in NC Fast. And then you have one that talks about the marketplace or exchange. We did not go with the expansion of our Medicaid program, so
That was a state decision?
that was a state decision. But when you look at the woodwork population, it talks about, even though we did not expand our Medicaid population, that there will still be individuals coming in to see whether or not they're eligible. So they might not be eligible for Medicaid, but they could be eligible for other programs. So we just need to be aware of that. Also, you have in your packet a...
Is that page 12?
Oops. I think it might be page 12 that talks about the statistics. When you look at, it shows all the different counties and what their population was as of 2010, and the percent of the total statewide authorized Medicaid eligible population, it shows that we have 26,987 authorized Medicaid eligibles as of May 2013. With the increase with the Affordable Care Act, we're looking to pick up 1,185 additional Medicaid eligible, which will bring our total to 28,172 if they come in. If we had done the expansion, we were seeing an increase of 8,401 additional people eligible for Medicaid under the expansion. But since we did not do the expansion, we're looking at 28,172. But these other individuals, through the marketplace, the health exchange and other things, they still might be coming into the agency asking for information, doing referrals, and then some of these individuals might be eligible for food and nutritional service, low-income energy assistance program, other programs that will operate. So these sheets are just to give us update on the Affordable Care Plan. As we get additional information, I'll just put these in our package. So as we move forward with that, we have already talked about NC Fast update.
I just wanted to go back over one thing there, and I wanted to be sure that when I look at this overall NC Fast issue, and certainly we as a county are having some issues with it. I look at the other counties, and some of them are and some of them aren't. And I guess I'm having trouble understanding why, when the state decided to switch, not seeing some of these issues that we're seeing now in terms of speed, in terms of a lot of other things. And when I look back at a lot of the preparedness, and certainly there were lines and maybe things we should have done differently, perhaps, I guess I'm kind of having a lot of issues, but not a lot, but some issues with the fact that the state saw these things and they were not planning better. And I think their planning kind of rolled downhill, because to me it would seem very obvious that there's going to be a lot of problems with a lot of the computer kinds of issues and other things going on that we're stuck with. And again, I'm saying certainly we had some of our own issues, but when I look back at how this is going and understanding more about it and going through a lot of the new memos from NC Fast that we've been getting, I kind of wonder, some of these should have been addressed statewide earlier. I think, too, there should be a better emergency net, because certainly we have people outstanding, but there are other counties that also have outstanding. And in terms of what we've done, when I looked at, and I can't remember the name of this report, how we've improved, but there was not a real big safety net. And when you look back at some of the newspaper reports and what other counties were doing, what were they saying? We're getting ready to flood all those resources, the food banks, the churches, etc. So they knew those things. Other counties were seeing them. And while, again, I'm saying we got problems here, but I really have problems with some of the state, I don't know, planning issues that are really causing us a lot of problems, that we're solving things. And they certainly have a soft launch and hard launch, but we're making that these deadlines need to be met. But there's a lot of things that we didn't know, and it's easy to look back on those things and say that we should have known them. And yes, we should have known some things. But then again, some of the state people, when they were changing these things, should have known just a tremendous amount of computer stuff that we were going to have to do, the amount of money that we were going to have to put out. And I think they're doing a good job by sending people out. And I guess the fact that they're recognizing oops, and they're sending a lot of people out pretty easy, that something was going on. So I wanted to have that, to bring that out, that that there's more responsibility for some of these issues than are right here in Pitt County. And again, I'll say we do have our issues, but the people that planned this, when I look back, I think some things should have been addressed a little bit better.
When the state rolled out this system, it was bought off a shelf, so they did not add anything to it. So this was a program that the state bought and they implemented. You know, in other programs, you would be looking at what do we need to do? How can we change it so we would not have to convert the cases? But when they bought this program was bought, they implemented it, knowing that we would have to go in and do all these things. So the state knew up front that the cases would not convert. So that's why they were willing to put additional people out into the counties, because they knew that part of the issue was getting all these cases converted so that people could get the benefits. So I would like to thank the state. At least they acknowledged that the counties needed help, and they were willing to put that help out in the counties at no cost to the counties. Now, when you look at transportation, look at housing for weeks on time, it's got to be a big expense to the state to do that.
Yeah.
And I think when they came out with the minimal bandwidth, they probably should have put in the max, because when you look at the minimum, they're not taking into consideration that on the bandwidth you might have the health department, you might have the other organizations that run it through that same trunk, that even though you might have enough bandwidth, it depends on when you're using it as to whether or not you got enough traffic flow to go out.
Sure.
So
And
there's some of the things that they didn't look at.
And I think that is true.
Yeah.
But when we go
It was
back,
a learning experience for you.
yeah. Well, I guess the thing is when we go back to the people that are not getting their benefits, that I feel that there should have been a little bit better emergency plan, because right now, again, you know, whoever is to blame is the state, the county, whatever. We're still looking at 2,300 cases that are without benefits. Okay.
And I would like to say, I put the wrong telephone report in, so disregard that telephone report. That was, that
We
was,
done covered that
Yeah,
one.
we covered
yeah,
that.
that's last year.
Okay.
So I would get the right telephone report and have it updated.
Okay. Let's see. What we need?
Our lady has to move us to closed session.
North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 regarding closed sessions. Section A, permitted purposes, it's the policy of the state that closed sessions shall be held only when required to permit a public body to act in the public interest as permitted in this section. A public body may hold a closed session and exclude the public only when a closed session is required. Also, item number 1, to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of this state or of the United States, or not considered of public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes.
I'd like to get a motion to go into closed session.
I'd offer a motion that we move into closed session for the purposes as stated.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Motion carries, and we will now go into closed session.